Hey everyone, welcome back to all my listeners. This is episode 2 in season 16. Today is Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. My name is Sonal Patel, and this is the Paint the Medical Picture podcast series. All right, you guys, so I hope everyone is enjoying September so far with your kids back in school, with football back up on our TVs, an incredible US Open for tennis that I loved watching. Love it so much. And of course, the gorgeous weather. At least where I am here, the heat has died down and it's back to my favorite upper 70s, low 80s, no humidity. It's perfection. So I hope you guys are enjoying your September season as well. Now, I just wanted to let my audience know about an upcoming workshop that I will be giving on telehealth with my dear colleague Keisha and an amazing leader and practitioner in global telemedicine, Dr. Michelle Griffith. Now, we're going to be talking about all things telehealth and what is current and upcoming after October 1st, 2025 to remain compliant. Now, the telehealth playbook for 2025 through 2026, I want you to check out the link that I provide in the show notes. And I will be giving some details as the weeks go by about what the big bullet points are that we will be addressing. But I know it's going to be a very dynamic and exciting all-day workshop that we are going to be delivering on telehealth. Now, in today's episode, you know it's the second Wednesday of the month. So that means I'm going to be focusing my Newsworthy on the OIG Work Plan updates for the month of August 2025. And I'm going to coordinate my Trusty tip today. Once I reveal what the OIG Work Plan updates are about, I'm going to be focusing on a continued need for more compliance still necessary for the DME space, specific to proof of delivery forms. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and close out and round out today's episode with another remarkable quote on resilience by Elizabeth Edwards. All right, you guys, let's get into it. So in today's Newsworthy, it's going to be focused on the August OIG Work Plan updates. Now, there were 2 updates made to the OIG Work Plan for the month of August 2025. The first is titled White Paper, Fraud, Waste and Abuse Related to Durable Medical Equipment in Medicare. Now, this report is expected from the Office of Evaluation and Inspections. Each year, Medicare payments for durable medical equipment, prosthetics, orthotics, and supplies, also known as DME POS, top more than $7 billion in original Medicare alone. Despite safeguards and other CMS efforts, recent cases demonstrate that fraudsters continue to target DME POS billing and have developed new schemes. This white paper will build on OIG's extensive expertise on DME POS fraud. It will provide information about the nature of DME POS fraud in Medicare, key program integrity vulnerabilities, and potential actions to reduce fraud, waste, and abuse. Now, this final report is expected in fiscal year 2026. Now, the second and final OIG Work Plan update made for the month of August 2025 is titled Audit of Diagnosis Codes that MA Organizations Submitted to CMS for Use in Medicare Part C Risk Adjustment Program. Now, this report is expected from the Office of Audit Services. Payments to Medicare Advantage organizations, or MAOs, are risk adjusted based on the health status of each enrollee. MAOs are required to submit risk adjustment data to CMS according to CMS instructions. Inaccurate diagnoses may cause CMS to pay improper amounts to MAOs. For this audit, the OIG will focus on diagnoses that are at high risk for not being supported by medical records for a face-to-face encounter with an acceptable provider type and resulted in increased risk-adjusted payments from CMS to MAOs. The OIG will determine whether MAO's submission of these diagnosis codes to CMS for use in CMS's risk adjustment program complied with federal requirements. Now, this final report is expected in fiscal year 2026. 2027. And now it's time for my best practice tips in Trusty Tip. Now, I hope this to be a very timely Trusty Tip based on that very first OIG Work Plan item that we went over on the white paper from the OIG on fraud, waste, and abuse in the DME space. Now, the Comprehensive Error Rate Testing, or CERT task force, identified missing or incomplete proof of delivery, or POD, documents for DME claims. So this Trusty Tip is hopefully going to help my audience understand another compliance requirement that is needed and things when I audit DME claims and coordinating documentation that I see missed again and again and again. And that is a requirement: proof of delivery documents. Again, the task force identified missing or incomplete proof of delivery documents for DME claims. And they remind us that we are required to maintain that proof of delivery documentation for 7 years from the date of service, regardless of your delivery method. So the CERT gives us a really nice checklist, in my opinion, of what is required from our DME suppliers. Now, the CERT DME proof of delivery requirements, they list that the proof of delivery must have the beneficiary's name, the delivery address, the quantity delivered, the date delivered. The description of the item delivered must be one of these. It has to include a narrative description. It has to include the HCPCS code. It has to include a long description of a HCPCS code, or it has to include the brand name and model number. So there are many cases in the audits that I perform where this is not included. There has to be one of those. You have to have a narrative description or a HCPCS code or a long description of a HCPCS code or a brand name and a model number. The auditor on the other end of things has to identify what the supply or the item actually is. And so you have to do that by providing one of those descriptors. Now, there are, of course, specific requirements based on the method of delivery. And this is where the CERT provides a really nice breakdown of what is required by delivery method. So if you're doing a direct delivery, what are the requirements? You have to have the beneficiary or a designated person's signature. I see that missing all the time. There also has to be the date of service on the claim is the date the beneficiary got the item. So again, that has to coordinate on the CMS 1500 claim form, right? The date of service on the claim has to be the date the beneficiary got the item. Then for delivery method number 2, if you're shipping or mailing the particular supply order, the requirements in that case are you have to be able to provide evidence of that package tracking number. So that UPS or that FedEx tracking number has to be provided. You have to have a supplier invoice number or an alternate method that links the supplier's delivery documents with the delivery service records. You also have to have evidence of delivery. You also need to have the date of service on the claim. Again, must be one of these: the shipping date, the date the label is created, the date the shipping service picks up the item, the date of delivery. So we have to be able to match things up based on the delivery method, in this case, shipping or mail order. And then finally, the third method that the CERT advises us on is for if it's being shipped to a nursing facility on behalf of the beneficiary. What are the requirements in that case? Well, if it's a direct delivery to a nursing facility, you have to go up to the first method that we talked about for direct delivery. Or if you're going to be shipping it or mail ordering it, again, you have to go up to that second method where I just talked about shipping or mail ordering. And finally, that information has to be kept from the nursing facility showing that the items were delivered and provided to and used by the beneficiary. So All of those records are very, very important. And they remind us once again that suppliers must keep documentation for 7 years from the date of service. And finally, I focus season 16 Spark on resilience. I want this 16th season Spark to be filled with our world's thought leaders, writers, artists, philosophers, everyone who inspires us with their insights on resilience. So in this week's inspiring quote in Spark is from Elizabeth Edwards. She stood in the storm, and when the wind did not blow her way, she adjusted her sails. So very true, right? I love this quote on resilience. It really speaks to how we should all learn how to pivot and not feel so defeated when our path is not quite straight or as we planned. This quote embodies resilience to me. I'm happy Elizabeth Edwards' spark burns brightly and still inspires so very many. All right, you guys. So that wraps up today's short and sweet episode. But before I close out today and leave all of us, I really wanted to remind my audience that today, September 10th, 2025, is World Suicide Prevention Day. Now, NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, is leading the day with a national moment of silence at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, stay tuned for next week's episode where I will focus my healthcare spotlight on September as Suicide Prevention Month. So I hope all of you guys take the time to once again decompress, de-stress, don't feel overwhelmed. Get a chance to escape your crazy, busy lives during the work week and take those weekends as necessary for yourselves to care for yourselves and do what you need to do to remain happy and productive for the coming weeks. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And I hope every week with me brings you closer to helping your providers paint a masterpiece. See you next Wednesday.